Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene, where empowered by love, we transform ourselves and serve our world. My name is the Reverend Lois Van Leer, she, her, hers, and with me today is our ministerial intern, Jennifer Hackett, joining us live from Nashville, Tennessee. Mitch Davey and his partner, Kelly, joining us live from Seattle. Suzanne Giordano joining us live from Eugene. Our accompanist behind the scenes and tech guru, Kat Johnson. Also our board chair and vice chair, Daniel Blades and Poppy Lockridge. And Katie Seipert, our faith formation person, coordinator and coordinator of spiritual development, who is in her final Sunday with us today. Welcome if you happen to stumble upon us, or if for some reason you decided you need to find a church community this morning, you are welcome. Or if you're returning to us after a brief time away, or this is what you simply do Sunday after Sunday. For those of you who have found your way faithfully each Sunday over the weeks, over the months, over the years, the decades, welcome. May all of you who have found us in this space find welcome here. The last vestiges of the year are breathing their last breaths. Just around the corner lies something that we anticipate with the eagerness of children who tear into presents on solstice and Hanukkah and Christmas, and then later Kwanzaa. Let us dare to believe that something new, something good, something restorative, something renewing, something hopeful waits for us, just as we desperately wait for it. Let us clear a space within, that we might be able to welcome possibility, that we may offer hospitality to that which is waiting to be born. Welcome to all who have gathered into this space at this time. Know that we make it sacred by our intent. Welcome.
We have a few announcements today. Most importantly, we hope that you will have time to join us for Christmas Eve service. It will be this Thursday at 8 p.m. We're going to do it a little differently than we do Sunday services. So all of you will arrive to the regular Zoom meetings, and the setting will be preset to the video off. So it's just like if you're going to any one of our groups or any Zoom meeting ever where all the Brady Bunch boxes are happening, and you'll be one of them. But your video will be off and you will be on mute. And we do that in order to help preserve the broadband usage. It gives those with slow internet connections sort of a better chance to have a good experience with all of the different videos that we're playing, while allowing us to sing as we traditionally do Silent Night with our candles at the end of the service with all of our videos turned on so that we can see each other. And you'll want to stick around at the end of that for the Stuffy Selfie slideshow. So the children of UUCE's Stuffies have been dropped off to the sanctuary, and they are going to have a party together without masks, because that's how Stuffies roll. And they will have a good time, and you'll be able to see all of the things that happened and get to see the new sanctuary's new color in the meantime. So thank you to everybody who made things for the bake sale and the card sale, and everybody who purchased them this past weekend. The bake sale made a little over $800, and the card sale altogether made a little over $100. So thank you to all of our artists who made those homemade cards. Also, thanks to everybody who submitted your photos or videos for the winter holiday tradition. If you missed the video showing, we'll put the link into the chat so that you can see it for yourself. It was super fun, y'all. It was really great to see everybody's holiday traditions and see what those were like in different houses. Okay, the auction's coming up in January. We need fun and creative donations for 2021 church auction. Our theme is superheroes. Did you hear the extra U? Superheroes, superheroes. There you go. You can donate activities and or items Activities such as COVID-safe get-togethers like a Zoom wine tasting or socially distant meals scheduled for when the weather gets nice enough for that sort of thing, outdoor gardening, help or game activities, or you could offer to clean somebody's gutters. I know that would go over really big. Maybe a casserole subscription, that sort of thing would really help those working folks, maybe with some extra kids in the background doing school at home all the time. We will be taking donations up until January 13th, but the sooner you're able to sort of fill out the form and get the donation in, the better. There will be a silent virtual auction starting on January 16th, and then we're gonna have a fun Zoom get-together auction experience on January the 23rd. There will be entertainment. So mark your calendars and get your donations in. Please see our web page to link to the donation form. Jennifer Tucker's 10 a.m. Wednesday morning meditation is now ongoing and accepting new folks. Contact Izzy in the office if you'd like to receive a link to join. The Solstice Spiral walk is today from 5 to 7 in the church parking lot. This will be a masked event and socially distant, and all ages are welcome to participate. A special welcome again to our visitors. We're going to drop a form into the chat at this time. It's our how we can reach out to you and get to know you form. So if you can fill that out, we'd be glad to reach out to you in the coming week. And we are delighted to have two of our board members joining us today, President Daniel Blades and Vice President Poppy Lockridge. A warm welcome to you both.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, and it is a pleasure to be here. Good morning, UUCE. And I've got 2 jobs today. So I'm going to try to keep track of my 2 jobs. My first is to remind you all that if you have not turned in your budget request for the 21-22 fiscal year, you've got 11 days to get that in. So please, please, submit that, get it in, dream big, and we'll see if we can make those big dreams happen. And my second job is to tell you that Daniel has some special words of gratitude for somebody very important to us.
Thank you, Poppy. So I'm Daniel Blades. I am the president of your board of trustees. And this is for Katie Seipert. One of the things that our church has gotten better at is transitions, saying hello and saying goodbye. While in some ways saying hello is more enjoyable, saying goodbye allows for a true generosity of spirit. It is with this generosity of spirit that we say our goodbyes to Katie Seipert. Katie has been with us for 10 years, and she's built up quite a store for us to be grateful for. Many of us have our own personal reasons for being grateful, but today I'm speaking on behalf of the Board of Trustees. And thus, I would like to thank Katie for her years of faithful leadership and service to our church. We, the board, would like to give you a gift as a token of our thanks out of the deep respect we have for you. Katie, you have been a blessing to us for this last decade. We are a better people for your presence. May you have all the success that you so richly deserve in your upcoming endeavors. Our blessing and our love we give to you in your continued service to our faith. Thank you, Katie.
Hey, Poppy, could you hold that up higher so everybody could see it and just say what it is? Because I hold it up high. There you go.
Katie, after service today, I will be delivering to you this very lovely fire holder, that the fire of your vocation may carry you into the future.
We light this chalice flame on this solstice eve to be reminded that the light is returning, even though this is the darkest hour. No one can hold back the dawn. Advent, the arrival or coming of, is the Christian season of anticipation, waiting and preparation, stillness. 4 Sundays prior to Christmas, it is a time of readying the soul. As with most holy days of the Jewish and Christian year, the roots of Advent are to be found in pagan traditions. Evergreen wreaths were brought into homes in the darkness of winter as reminders of the eternal cycle of the seasons. Candles were lit to celebrate the slow and steady return of light. May this season be a celebration of the coming of light and peace into our winter's darkness. On this 4th Sunday of Advent, which is the season of the inbreaking of light in the darkness, we will light the candle of peace, a peace that passes all expectation and understanding, and that will come.
Let us be called to worship today by the words of Reverend Gretchen Haley. There is a time to let go of the resistance, of the steadfast march, the complete to-do list for parents and activists and all who love this life. These people, these mountains, and this sky. There is a time to rest and to trust. The world will go on when filled with partners at the ready. All of us splitting shifts on this project of building and healing, tending and turning. Breath and being require their own practice, their own attention. And the heart needs time for becoming stronger after the shattering, the opening wider, the learning to love more. And again, come into this place. Study stillness and joy. Know your belovedness like a memory calling out from the center of your being, connecting every little piece of everything to everyone and all of us. Feel here the gratitude rising and praise for this chance to begin again this day with hope. Come, let us worship together. Please join us in singing hymn number 352, Find a Stillness. We'll sing it 2 times through. For our meditation today, I ask that you prepare yourselves in an attitude of relaxation and stillness as I read the words entitled Winter Solstice by Rebecca Parker. Perhaps for a moment the typewriters will stop clicking. The wheels stop rolling, the computers desist from computing, and a hush will fall over the city. For an instant in the stillness, the chiming of the celestial spheres will be heard as Earth hangs poised in the crystalline darkness and then gracefully tilts. Let there be a season when holiness is heard and the splendor of living is revealed. Stunned to stillness by beauty, we remember who we are and why we are here. There are inexplicable mysteries. We are not alone. In the universe moves a wild one whose gestures alter Earth's axis toward love. In the immense darkness, everything spins with joy. The cosmos enfolds us. We are caught in a web of stars, cradled and swaying, embraced, rocked by the holy night. Babes of the universe. Let this be the time we wake to life like spring wakes in the moment of winter solstice.
Bryony built the most beautiful castle. She had worked on it all afternoon after lunch and had spent hours. She had used blocks and folded paper in elaborate shapes, and the entryway was built out of Legos that had been deconstructed from another project and reused for this gorgeous castle. She was really proud of it. And when Mom called her down for snack, she hopped up and her knee hit one of the towers. And you know how these things go. As she reached to catch the tower falling, it went too fast and it knocked into a different one, and all of the sides started to collapse in, and her gorgeous castle was in a heap on the floor. And Bryony stood there, looking at it, hardly believing what had just happened. She picked up her bear, Petunia, and hugged her tight to her chest and went down for a snack, vowing to herself to rebuild bigger and better. And fortified by her snack, she came back and she did just that. And while the castle didn't look exactly the same as it had before, still it was beautiful. And Bryony reached over to pick up Petunia to celebrate this moment and realized, oh no, Petunia's nose was missing. Her dog, Ruffkins, had chewed the nose off while she wasn't looking. Ugh, Bryony wailed. She was so mad. She was so hopping mad. And she took Petunia to her mom, and her mom said, "It's okay. We're going to do a little nasal reconstruction surgery. Don't you worry." And Bryony looked over Mom's shoulder as Mom sewed carefully a new nose onto Petunia. Disaster maybe not averted, but taken care of. Petunia and Bryony, they avoided Ruffkins for a few days. They just sort of ignored him for a while the mad seeped away. But in those few days, Ruffkins started to feel worse and worse. It was clear that he was sick and they didn't know why. And Bryony and Mom took Ruffkins to the vet, and there the vet told them that because Ruffkins was so old and was feeling so unwell, he was no longer interested in bear noses. He was no longer interested in eating food. That really the best thing was to help Ruffkins to pass away, to die peacefully in their home. And so Bryony and Mom took Ruffkins home, and the vet came. And after Ruffkins was gone, they sat on the couch together and they cried and they talked and they shared stories. And it didn't really make the loss better, but it did make Bryony feel love. The next morning, they got up in the morning, they were getting ready for work and for school, and Mom somehow twisted in a weird way and hurt her back. And she couldn't stand up straight. And so she crawled to her room and she laid down flat on the floor and she called to Bryony and said, please, can you help me find my phone? I need help finding my phone. And Bryony was looking everywhere. She looked in Mom's purse and she looked in the living room and she looked on the kitchen counter. And then she heard Mom call, never mind, it's right here. And Bryony came to Mom's room as Mom called their friends, the D'Angelos. And she said, please, can you take Bryony for me? I'm not sure what's going on, but I know I can't get her where she needs to go. And so the D'Angelos came and they picked Bryony up and they brought her to their house. And that night they did something that Bryony's family doesn't do. They prayed before dinner. And as part of their prayer, they prayed for Mom's quick recovery. And Bryony went to bed feeling totally certain that Mom was going to be better the next morning. But it didn't really happen that way. Mom's back was still hurting. She couldn't go to work. She couldn't care for Bryony, and so Bryony stayed with the D'Angelos. Sometimes things just pile up, don't they? Sometimes it's just one thing after another, isn't it? After a couple of days, Bryony went to the backyard. She climbed the tallest tree she could find. She brought Petunia along with her. And up in the branches, she sat. And the wind blowed by, and the leaves rustled. And she didn't pray exactly. She didn't cry exactly. And there was nothing really that she could do exactly. But she just sat and let herself be quiet. And when her body had settled down, she climbed back down. And you know, Mom did get better. And Bryony did get to go home and their life resumed as it does. It was different because Ruffkins wasn't there. And the castle was kind of forgotten by this point. Things pile up. It can feel like one thing after another. And so we reach for each other. We reach for the projects in our lives that bring us meaning and goodness. We reach for our family and our friends. We reach for our stuffies. And let us too reach for ourselves, knowing that we are held in love. Thanks so much.
Our reading this morning comes from the 17th century Japanese poet and samurai, Mizuta Mashahide. My barn having burned down, I can now see the moon.
Why do fires so enrapture? What is it that draws us into their flare, the leaping flames and those red hot orange coals? On this solstice eve, from the time of the ancients until the present, fires have been lit to call back the sun and its light on the shortest day and the longest night of the year. For thousands of years, we have sought fire in the winter's depths. The fires lit ignite the memory that there is something else other than winter's night. It's damp and it's cold. We are somehow mesmerized, gentled, quieted before the heat and glow of the fire. We rest in our gaze. Are you hungry for that quiet, that stillness, that assurance of the warmth of the fire and its unspoken promise that something else will be? Are you done, like so done with COVID restrictions in your lives? your restricted connections, your very ability to be in the world? Have your coping skills finally reached their limits? Is the inability to have some sort of not so much closure, but a ritual marker of death going to remain in limbo forever? You can't be there in the dying process, and you can't hold some sort of ritual to honor or recognize a life that is no longer. Is the unfamiliar of what was familiar, has that finally undone you? Do you wonder how to live or what to live from? Because so much of how we have lived has been knocked out from underneath us the way a knee crumbles when somebody comes up behind you and pushes on it and it just collapses. It's more than transition that we've been experiencing. It's more than change. It's total disruption. The world, our worlds have been turned on their heads. And there's a feeling of terrible aloneness. Even if or when enough of us have been vaccinated, perhaps not with one of these early vaccines, but another that might prove more efficacious, will we return? Can we return to the life that preceded COVID? Will the need for distance from one another ever fade? Will we forget too easily the hundreds of thousands who died? Will we be careless in our desire to return to what no longer exists? And what will replace it? My barn having burned to the ground, I can see the moon. Some who lived along the Mackenzie or the Umpqua or in parts of California or Colorado and so many other places in our country this summer saw their barns, their homes burned down. Others who were spared returned to walk charred land, smoke-damaged dwellings and belongings, a blackened moonscape here on Earth. They did not care if now they could see the moon. How could they live? Could they rebuild? Would they? Everything lost. To begin again, but not to repeat or to return to the way it was. And then there is the continuing wildfire destruction of economic loss. Businesses closing, declaring bankruptcy, whole sectors of employment simply eradicated. When aid runs out, as it's most certain to do, how will people live? Why should people be forced to choose food over shelter or over medical treatment? We have yet to even begin to feel the full impact of that economic wildfire. For those of us who've lived on the confines and realities of COVID, our metaphorical barns have burnt down as well. A whole way of life gone. Have we learned after all these months to let fall away that which was the life in a blender aspect of our living, the accoutrement of our lives, the adornments? Have we wandered the ruined remains of life before COVID and only retrieved the parts that are life-giving and sustaining as opposed to the life-draining and crazy-making? Have we found our own true north? Or has our compass simply broken? How do we live when what was no longer is, and what will be is still yet to be configured? How do we live in this in-between place of uncertainty and anxiety and grief and anger and fear? What is it that will reorient us? It's not so simple as saving money by not eating out or not going to movies or sporting events or concerts or the theater or indulging in retail therapy or traveling. Not so simple as now the family eats dinner together every night and has actual conversation. They're the added stressors of all this togetherness. Parents trying to work from home as well as help children with online school and the lack of childcare. Folks who don't have computers or tablets or devices that allow them to participate in what is online. Folks who don't have internet access. And the reality is that all this togetherness and no way to escape it kind of gets hard at times. And many of us are trapped in one geography, an apartment, a tent, a house, a room, a hotel, or together with just one other person in your bubble all the time, as in 24/7. There is such a thing as too much togetherness. Or perhaps you're in an assisted living facility and you're not allowed to leave the confines of your room. You have no social interaction. And for those who end up in the hospital during this time, they pretty much land there quite alone to manage. This is what it means when one's barn has burnt down. And now, is the view of the moon enough to sustain us, to help us start over, recreate our living, to guide us in a way forward? Are we able to come out of the isolation, loneliness, disconnection, depression, sadness, fatigue, the shock to our emotional and social systems? What does it mean to see the moon in this context? Or for that matter, the convergence of Jupiter and Saturn the next day or so? What do the flames of the solstice fire call back into being for us? You know, so many who initially approached this time of quarantine as almost fun, with the idea that finally they will be able to do and accomplish everything that they hadn't been able to do and accomplish, like read all those books that hadn't been read, do all those chores and those special projects that had never been gotten to. Well, guess what? We've discovered not so much, because a sort of fatigue or malaise or inertia has settled in. Is one day different from another? Because today and tomorrow have no name, no distinctions. If the religious question is, how shall we live? The question for this immediate time is, from what shall we live? What shall sustain us? To look at the moon is to see another context, another way, another reality, another way to begin. One need not look back over the burnt remains. What so many have found in this time, the things that we want to live from, is relationship and connection, devoid of social conformity or niceties. Let's cut to the chase and get real here. No more coffee hour conversations that are often awkward and unsatisfying. Tell me what you dream of, and I will tell you what I dream of. Tell me, where does it hurt? And I will tell you where I hurt. Make me laugh with you, and I will do so until my belly jiggles. Tell me a story, and I will gift you with one. Are you okay? No, really. Are you okay? In Zoom etiquette, when one wants to show compassion or sympathy, to show that I am with you, one puts one's hand over one's heart. Did we ever do that in our in-person interactions? Some of you find Zoom to be anything but a tool for connection, that it's basically nothing more than TV. Yet others have found connection that was never possible. And they have found that it is deepening as they return to one another week after week in their little Hollywood square configurations and interactions. And if by some miracle we should run into one another at a store or on a walk, we find ourselves bubbling over with gratitude just to see or be with one another in some capacity. Being at church yesterday to see people as they were coming to get their baked goods or drop off their stuffies or to buy cards or to pick up their Christmas Eve candles, we kept saying, it's so good to see everyone. And at the same time, we need to be reminded that the empty church is really the people, no matter where we are. Real mail, snail mail, is cause for ecstatic dancing, or if you're lucky enough, some baked goodie left on your porch by a seasonal elf or fairy. Civilization lives, you cry, as that treat finds its way from your hand to your fingers, to your lips, to your mouth, to your tongue, to your throat, to your stomach, to contentment. Every one of us has had our barns burned down in this COVID time. With the symbol or metaphor of the moon, that revelation of something new and stunningly beautiful is as individual as each one of us is. What is the moon now in your life? What have you found or are finding to live from? Most likely it has to do with some form of connection or relationship. On this solstice eve, draw near to one another in your pods or your social cohorts or your Zoom community. Gather around a fire or a candle. Be still for a moment. To a time of light. Tend the fire of your hearts, your minds, and your spirits. May blessings descend and abound. Blessed be. I feel a little overwhelmed by everything that's being shared in the joys and sorrows today in the chat, and grateful that we are together in community, that they may be offered there. I'm aware also that this is a bittersweet time for some, a difficult time, a time to be negotiated rather than celebrated and enjoyed. Let the time be what it is and needs to be for you. And in this time, my new mantra, my new blessing, my new prayer for all of us is stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected to family and friends and this community, that we may hold one another in the circle of the chalice in compassion and healing and blessing. May it be so. Blessed be.
Today's offering will be for the Relief Nursery. They've been serving our community since 1979. Their mission is to prevent the cycle of child abuse and neglect through early intervention that focuses on building successful and resilient children, strengthening their parents, and preserving families. The nursery serves more than 1,000 children and families each year. Nearly a third of the Relief Nursery's budget comes from donors in the community. As you consider your gift, please know that as a top-rated charity, the Relief Nursery has consistently earned their top rating among charitable organizations for adherence to their mission and for their stewardship of the resources they receive. So many thanks and gratitudes for this offering that offers children and families relief and care, and that allows this church to live our values in the wider community.
Katie, I have a gift for you. This is known as a Viola Lyouzo chalice. It's made by a wood turner in Bremerton, Washington. For those of you who don't know who Viola Lyouzo was, she was a Detroit housewife who went down to help during the civil rights era, and she was murdered, as was the Black man that was in the car with her. She was murdered basically for transporting him. So I picked this chalice for you because of the legacy of Viola. And on it, I had the words carved, "Roots hold me close, wings set me free." And I want to offer a final blessing to you. And I ask that everybody who is here take their hand, and place it over their heart. Katie, we would have to talk about so many gifts that you have given. All the ways you've come into yourself professionally and spiritually, all the stories you've told, the songs you have sung, the classes you've taught or facilitated, the art projects, the words you've shared, the care you have given, cradle to sage, and everybody in between. All that you've dreamed, you've hoped, you've imagined, you've realized, all that you've created, all the ways, so many things. And now another door is opening. Another window draws you to stand before it. Invitations. Another call has made its way from deep within and risen to your lips. And you have said yes, not without tears and doubt, and finally joy, a settled acceptance. Ministry lies behind you and it stretches infinitely before you. We, this community from which you emerged, send you forth on a wing and a prayer with gratitude and love. My friend Judy Fiel wrote this song, and I love this verse that it says, "And if you ever doubt yourself, remember us who know you well. We know all the gifts you bring into the world each day." We, the Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene community, release you that you may bring your gifts to other communities. Roots hold you close, wings set you free. Blessings, dear one, on all that you have given. Blessings on all that you have yet to give. Carry these words in your heart. And all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Blessings upon you. I invite you to join in singing our closing hymn, "Go Lift It Up." The poet Mary Oliver wrote these profound words. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it. And when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. Amen. So be it. Blessed be.